On the last trip to Colorado, we decided to break up the drive a little bit. We stayed at the beautiful Munds Park RV Resort, which is about 20 minutes outside of Flagstaff, Arizona. While we were there, we were told that we really should rent a RZR from Flagstaff ATV Rentals and take it to the Schnebly Hill Vista Overlook, so that's exactly what we did. We were getting a little bit of a late start, so we ended up going with the 4-hour rental instead of the full day. After getting checked in, there were just a few things that we needed to go over before they cut us loose. The first thing was how to even find the Schnebly Hill Vista Overlook. And next was a short video with some rules. Things like you can't do donuts and stuff, which totally makes sense. After all the formalities were taken care of, it was time to head out to our gorgeous RZR. Even though we went over the paper maps inside, this fancy RZR has GPS. And that was going to be really helpful as we made our drive, which is just under 40 miles round trip. Being from Southern California, it definitely feels strange, yet really cool being able to take these bad boys out on the road legally. The first and last 2¼ miles of your drive is going to be on these paved roads. And that actually worked out really nice because it gave us a chance to get used to our beautiful orange machine before we got into much bumpier terrain. Eventually, we saw the sign that we had all been waiting for, and it was time to get off this asphalt and get this adventure started. You are going to be passing quite a few campgrounds along the way, so if you decide to do this, please be respectful and try not to kick up too much dust. The first dirt road that you'll be on, which is also known as Forest Service Road 240, is well maintained and quite smooth. If this is more your speed, there is nothing wrong with that, and there are a lot of roads out here to suit this style of driving. However, if you want to go all the way to the Schnebly Hill Vista Overlook, you're going to have to put the RZR's suspension to work. We have some fairly rough roads coming up ahead, and we would highly recommend having at least some sort of off-roading experience if you plan on doing this. While it may not be anywhere near as technical as the route that we did when we took our pink Jeep tour, which you can see by clicking in the upper corner, line choice and technique is still important. Shortly after passing the yellow sign, you will be at the turn onto Forest Service Road 228. It is a kind of inconspicuous road, and it would be really easy to miss if you're not looking for it. This is where the real off-roading starts. This road is way more narrow and covered in rocks and roots. You will also be hopping over a couple of kettle guards as you make your way through some really pretty forest areas. This part of the drive was really fun, and it was just technical enough to keep you on your toes. Before we left Flagstaff ATV Rentals, they told us that there was a chance that we might come to a closed gate, and sure enough, here it is. The rule of thumb here is that if you come to this gate and it is closed, you can open it and drive through it, but then you need to close it again. The Forest Service might have it open for some reason, so if you come to it and it's open, you can just drive through and keep on going. We were visiting during monsoon season, so that means that this area gets pretty frequent heavy rains. That led to some pretty muddy conditions on this trail. As much fun as it would have been to blast through all the puddles, this wasn't our RZR. And also there is a washing fee if you bring it back covered in mud. Another thing to keep in mind so that you don't have any unexpected expenses is that there are forest rangers out here. Even though you may feel like you're all alone out here and you can do pretty much whatever you want, the forest rangers might disagree. If you're out here driving off trail, being reckless, or speeding, you could be looking at a pretty hefty fine. And not only that, but we had a couple $1,000 deposit on the RZR, and we were really hoping to get that back at the end. But just because you have to go a little bit slower than these machines are capable of out here, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have a great time. After one more big puddle, we came to a junction and we made a right onto Forest Service Road 226. This is another fairly well maintained road. Every once in a while there will be a rock, but it's nothing compared to what you've just driven through. Since this is a much more accessible road, there is a good chance that you'll encounter traffic here. The good thing is that the vast majority of this road is about 2 lanes wide, so you shouldn't have any trouble passing. As we make our way along, it's time for a quick fun fact. You may be wondering where the Schnebly Hill Vista Overlook gets its name from. Well, way back in 1901, the Schnebly family, who were early pioneers, came to the area. They decided that this previously unnamed spot would be a great place to start their new life. And you may wonder what Mrs. Schnebly's name was? Her name was Sedona. At this point, you will be crossing directly under Interstate 17 and continuing on to Schnebly Hill Road. The funniest thing is you'll see this sign warning of rough roads, but it is nothing compared to Forest Service Road 228. In fact, this part of the drive is really pleasant and easy. The exception to this is if you plan on driving past the Schnebly Hill Vista Overlook. We heard that the road gets really nasty there, but you're not even allowed to take the rentals past the overlook, so that's not going to be an issue for us. Before you get to the overlook, you will be coming to this picturesque little lake. We took a small break here because the reflections on the still lake were just too good to pass up. At this point, you are just over 3¼ miles from the overlook. You will be climbing a somewhat steep hill, but the Razor handled the climb with ease. Once you get to the top of that climb, you will be in for a treat because you're going to get your first glimpses of Sedona. For those who don't know, Sedona is one of our favorite places. We have a ton of videos about our trips there, and you can see the whole playlist by clicking in the upper corner. Here we are arriving at the Schnebly Hill Vista Overlook. This is an absolutely perfect spot to stop, have lunch, and enjoy the views out over Mount Wilson and the rest of the valley. This is such a perfect spot, in fact, that our good friends Nick and Claire got engaged here. Off to your left, you will see the continuation of Schnebly Hill Road. This is where we won't be going, but if you have your own vehicle and some serious skills, go for it and let us know how it went. We could have spent a serious amount of time up here taking in these views, but then we checked the time, and we realized that the 4-hour rental doesn't give you a ton of free time to play with at the overlook. 4 hours sounds like a lot of time, but when you're having this much fun, it does seem like it goes by pretty fast. Our rental time ended at the same time that the shop closed, and we didn't want the employees to have to wait around for us, so we were gonna have to pick up the pace just a little bit. One thing that you definitely need to keep in mind when budgeting your time is that bumpy Forest Service Route 228. Depending on your skill level, this can definitely take you some time to get through. We had now made it back to the gate and the clock was ticking. V jumped out like a NASCAR pit crew and opened the gate just in time for us to see these elk. We like to keep things interesting, and we had about 20 minutes to closing. The good thing is that we are now back on Forest Service Road 240, which is smooth. So we were able to pick up our speed to a legal limit, of course, and make our way back towards Flagstaff ATV rentals. And I'm proud to say we made it just in time. We would like to send a huge shout out to Flagstaff ATV Rentals and the Munds Park RV Resort. We had a great time and we will definitely be back. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because it really helps out the channel. And for all the information about off-roading to the Schnebly Hill Vista Overlook as well as other awesome Sedona adventures, head on over to livethatadventure.com.